What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday afternoon. Big boy NBA slate today. The 888 on DraftKings, $250K up top. Good $8 contest, 41,000 people, $100,000 up top. If you like, I know we don't really talk FanDuel on here. We do have FanDuel projections. Of course, we'll be talking Sabre in a sec. SaberSim does have FanDuel as well. Dabbled a little yesterday. Usually it's like $4.44, $5.55. So if you're one that wants a little less money, still pay out like $30K to first most of the time. Shout out Sheets. Saw Sheets won it yesterday. He's been hot. So, hey, FanDuel still has some solid prizes. DraftKings the main focus. Absolute big boy prizes. Got to say hi to people in chat before I go to my man Rio. Richard's in here. Jason, Carmen, Sean Sullivan, Ricky, NY, Little Neck, Lyle, put me in, coach. Charlie, Nades, what's going on? Daniels, Matt, Jordan, Stan, Sean, William, Renell, Matt, appreciate every single one hanging out with us again. All we ask, like button, subscribe button. I'm ready for this slate. Not too much time to waste, though, Rio, with 9 games. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. Excited to talk about this slate with you. I feel like I should probably be doing a better job talking about the FanDuel stuff on these slates because I know the prizes have been decent over there. I've just been kind of checked out with FanDuel because I've had my account locked for like 2 years, and I've been trying to get it unlocked. I didn't do anything suspicious. It was just there was like some weird activity going on. I've been trying to get it unlocked for a long time, but you know how it is talking to support teams on different sites. So it's been taking forever, but I'll try to talk about FanDuel a little bit more as we go through the rest of this season.
A lot of stuff translates. DraftKings, FanDuel. I have 4 cash plays on FanDuel, so you can always see like who the best value and stuff over there is. Ham does a great job. He's almost exclusively, I think he is exclusive on FanDuel. He might have the same thing you have on DraftKings. So we do have some people in chat, like SAYLS. He's always in Discord. He just does FanDuel. He takes Ham for a lot of stuff. So if you are FanDuel only, a lot does resonate or go back and forth. Resonate, probably not the right word, but Ham the man definitely is on FanDuel a lot. What's going on, Thomas? Al's in here, just in sports. Ian, what's going on? I'm not sure what that's supposed to mean. Hope everything's going well. David, Robert, Michael, Jason. Again, all we ask, like button, subscribe button. Helps us out a ton. I love this comments. You said SaberSim, he had 20% Porzingis, still cash on 5 of them. Loving the new setup. I mean, I'm absolutely loving it. We're going to screen share it in a sec. But again, if you somehow have missed the past 2 days, if you missed the past week, we had Tambo and Hoop on Monday do the launch show with SaberSim. Yesterday, Rio and I, we screen shared SaberSim. We're going to do that as well. When he's talking, I would approach like I'm making adjustments, doing little things, adding Rio's knowledge. I have the slate plan up on the site. Rio puts in way too much work. It is right now for premium members. So I got that up, the stone, just to use a bunch of our content, Rio's thoughts, and put it all into your thoughts into the optimizer, and then let Sabre do some of its own magic behind the scenes with the power it does have. Just want to pull this graphic up real quick. Makes things really easy. If you were with us prior to this and you just had content, no Shiptimizer, nothing changes for you. You see $79 down there. You're probably grandfathered in. $69, $59, even $49 for some. That does not change as long as you cancel. That's the case for all of these packages. The core, if you did have Shiptimizer prior, you now do have SaberSim, able to build 150 teams, able to late swap, $99. Again, you're grandfathered in. If you had Shiptimizer, you don't have to worry about that. If you do want to upgrade, you just have all access. You can upgrade to core. What we believe to be the best deal by the best value by far is starter. From the core, you pay $30 extra. You do get an extra 350 lineups. You also get projections and ownership for all sports on the Sabre side. It's like NBA when we go through it. You can average out the ownerships, the projections, etc. But for sports like tennis, college basketball that we don't have and Sabre does, they have projections and ownership. You do get those on the site as well. In our Discord, people talk. Smarty, shout out to him in the college basketball streets. Pickett in the tennis streets. You can help use the Discord information, the community, to narrow down your player pool for that. Starter 500 lineups, and you get contest flashback. If you don't know what that is, you're able to go back into contest, see what pros, see what other people did. You want to see what Rio did last night, etc. Again, SaberSim has so many videos. I really urge all of you, if you have a question, before you even go to SaberSim Discord, go to YouTube, type in SaberSim, try and get specific about what you are searching for. So many videos they have probably are answered in there. They also have office hours as well. Then if you do play a decent amount of money, you want to try out the contest sims, Right now, you get a value $297 in the first 30 days. After that, it'll be going to $321. That is what we have over here. We'll be showing, again, it's very high powered. If you're only playing $100 a month, I don't think you should spend that. If you're playing $1,000+ a month, I do think it is something you should consider. So again, the starter, the best value, $129 gets you everything, or gets you 500 lineups and everything else besides contest sims on the Sabre side. That takes you down $11.99. I'll show the pricing a little later when more people file in. Just got to go SHIPIT Nation, join now. $11.99 annual for that price. You get $99 a month. You get the Sabre Sim, 500 lineups, and you get all of our content. Absolutely no better deal out there. There is weekly, monthly, 6-month packages as well. Our best deals are, if you want to get the best bang for your buck, you know you will be here for the year. Definitely do the annual. It will save you the most money. So right now, as you can see on the screen, we are screen sharing Sabre. We're on DraftKings. Again, you can see the date right here. Contest. If you want, like right here, if you know you're going to be the 8th or the 888th, you can upload your entries. Actually, this would be the 888. But otherwise, you right-click. Some people have been asking what to do. Add contest sim. And then after you do build all your lineups, something will pop up for you to do that. We're going to do, like most people we think have the starter plan, 500 lineups. So that's what we're going to do right here. Again, you see all 9 games on tap. We're going to go game by game. I'm going to filter, and I will be making adjustments, adding rules, kind of following Rio's lead and then putting a little touch into my own. Rio, any final or any thoughts on what I just said? Anything to add, or do you want to go game by game?
Man, nobody better in the industry at marketing than Titletown. That was incredible.
Thank you, Rio. I appreciate those words. I appreciate it. What's going on, Jim?
I'm not Ham, by the way. I'm Hebrewcheetah.
Oh yeah, that's Hebrewcheetah. That's our man Rio. Ham might have been in chat that he's saying hi to. What is the stone? Hey, we can show the stone real quick. Actually, I'm gonna let Rio talk about this first game, and I will pull up the stone. We showed it almost every show prior to this. Again, I'll pull it up. It's a one-stop shop. We have it for all of our sports. Everything you need on one page is the stone. So you'll see starting lineups, point per minute, our projection on DraftKings, our projection on FanDuel, the ownership, the starting lineups. When they are confirmed, it has confirmed. So I'll pull that up in a sec when Rio's talking about this first game. Then I'll go back to Sabre Sim, and we'll take it from there. But, Rio, we have no time to wait, so I'm going to let you get into the first game when I'm pulling up the stone. First game is the Portland Trailblazers taking on the Washington Wizards. Actually, first, let me restart. 9 games. We have 4 games at 7 Eastern, 2 games at 7:30, 1 at 8, 1 at 9, 1 at 9:30. So that's the spread on this. And to make it really easy, I'm in West Coast time, so you add 2 hours to all of this. You can see that on Sabre Sim as well. You can see team totals, a lot right there. But again, first game, Portland Trailblazers, Washington Wizards. Portland 6.5-point favorites, 233.5 total in this one. For the Portland side, no Robert Williams. For Washington, no Alexander Sarr. You take it away. I'm going to pull up the stone, then I'll go back to Sabre for the people.
Yeah, it should be a decent game to kick things off tonight. Since the trade deadline, though, Washington's actually been playing decently on both ends of the court, mainly on defense. So they've been kind of hanging around a little bit more. And I was just listening to some podcasts earlier today talking about like kind of the reason why they're playing better. And it makes sense. You have 2 professionals and guys like Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, who are guys that have helped contending teams win or get close to winning championships. And you take away guys like Kyle Kuzma. It makes sense why they're playing a lot better. You have a lot more adults in the locker room, as some would say, but still on the season average, not very good defensively. So there should be some spots to attack. Portland's been playing really good defense as of late. They rank first in 3-pointers allowed this month. Washington's allowing just under 13 threes per game. So both been pretty good in that category. But the main area of concern for both teams defensively is their transition defense. Washington is 4th worst and Portland is 7th worst. Blazers are slightly worse in pick and roll situations. The on-ball defense hasn't been great. But yeah, starting with the Portland side, they've been running a really tight rotation in close games, basically running an 8-man rotation, but kind of 7.5-man. Last time against the Jazz, Jabari Walker only played 14 minutes. Shaedon Sharpe played 18 off the bench. And those the starters, Kamara, Danny, Simons, and Grant, were all in the upper 30s in games that are close. Starting with Simons, though, he's going to have a tough matchup, going to be up against Bilal tonight. Bilal's done a very good job against guard defender or guard offensive players this season. So I think it's going to be a little bit tougher for Simons, and he kind of feels priced out. He's been very consistent this month, coming off of a 28.6 assist game. Been running a lot of offense through him. He's only scored less than 34 DraftKings points twice this month. So probably more of like a cash game play than anything, because he hasn't, I think like his he's topped out at like 43, 45-ish. And this doesn't really feel like a spot where he's going to do that against a tougher matchup in Bilal. So I would probably be going a little bit cheaper, going down to Denny. I think he's my top option tonight. 6.5K revenge game, got traded away from Washington over the offseason. And the last time he faced a really bad transition defense, we can look as recently as last game where the Jazz are dead last. He went for 44.5 DK points. Always some risk that his minutes get cut down because Chauncey Billups will cut him down to like 24, 25 at times if he's not playing well. So I don't really want to go too overboard in my exposure there, but I think he is probably the top option from a upside perspective. And then I think Kamara and Scoot are both in play at their price tags. They both have been doing a little bit more with the ball handling. Kamara has taken on a little bit more in that category with his potential assists are up this month. And Scoot should profile here pretty well with a weak rim defense and a bad transition defense on the other side. So I think both those guys are decently fine, high upside options. I really like the spot for Donovan Clingan. 5.3K is a really good price tag for him. I think he's a guy that I want to get overweight on because the center position is really, really strong tonight. And I think he might be one of the guys that goes overlooked. There was some coach speak from Chauncey Billups saying they wanted to get him up to like the 30, 32-minute range, but that was kind of a lie because the next game he played 20. Did get up to 25 last game against the Jazz, which was pretty good. And I think that tonight he could get maybe closer to like the 28 range. And if that's the case, I mean, he's an elite block, elite rim protector, elite in blocks per game. And Washington has really struggled with their rebounding. They're allowing the second most or the most points to opposing big men and the second most rebounds per game. They're the third worst rebounding team in the league. So it's a really good spot for Clingan. And then Jeremy Grant, 5.4K. I mean, for whatever reason, the Blazers front office and the coaching staff just loves him. He plays so many minutes. Actually played pretty good last time out. Went 5 for 10 from the field, from 3-point range. 5.4K is a really strong price tag for somebody that's going to be playing mid 30 minutes. Shaedon Sharpe, I don't know, matchup really good for him. Probably don't want to go too overboard on the guards, though. I would probably even consider being max 1 of like the Scoot, Simons, and Sharpe grouping, but max 2 if you don't want to get too aggressive. Washington side, don't really have a ton of interest right now. Jordan Poole's usage has been really bad sharing the court with Chris Middleton, and he's still priced up a little bit too much. Probably prefer to play him in games where Middleton or Smart don't play, so on those back-to-backs. But both those guys will be in tonight. Rashawn Holmes is another strong center option, 4.9K. Been okay as a starter this season for Alex Sarr, averaging right around like 28 DraftKings points. But Keyshawn George, I think, is my favorite option at 5K. He's been playing a ton of minutes and actually been playing really well. So I think it's just Keyshawn and Holmes for me. I don't really think that Poole is too much in play at 7.3K. But I do like the Portland side a lot here.
I like it. So again, when Rio was talking, I'm not after every single game going to explain what I'm doing on here, but really just saying what Rio's saying. He likes Keyshawn George, where you have him projected. I took the average of SaberSim and SHIPIT Nation on both of these. 6.41%, 7%. He likes Keyshawn George. He wants at least with the field. Again, if you think he's 10%, you could put that at 10. I X'd out. He said he didn't like anyone else really but Rashawn Holmes and Keyshawn George. You can just X out everybody else on the Washington side. Again, you will not get any Washington guys but those two in your 500 builds. Again, if you have 5,000, you don't need to be as strict about it, but the less teams you're able to build, the more strict that would be. So every single team you do build looks like something that you do want. And again, going to the Portland side, he liked Portland a good bit. He liked Klingman. He wanted to go to overweight. I said at least like 1.7x him. He said Denny was solid, but he doesn't want like a ton. So I capped him at 37%. A lot of leeway right there. He didn't like Simons much. I made sure to get underweight. Again, little things like that. When he's talking, he mentioned the rule. So if you do want to make rules, add no rule, or add new rule, automatic, you change that to manual, and then you can do like the if-thens like we did yesterday, use at least, use no more. You click that, then you add some players there. So again, what I like to see as well, I like to sort by ownership when I click on each team. You can see Portland is getting some ownership. I like this value column as well. I've been sorting by it. multiple guys projected over 5x. Or if you go to the Washington side, you can tell. You sort by ownership, no one in the double digits. Only 2-3 guys above 5x. So little things like that, you can get a good read on what the field's doing, etc. Anything else you want to add to that, Rio? Otherwise, we'll keep it rolling.
No, I don't think so.
Let's do it. Next game on the slate: Toronto Raptors underdogs to the Indiana Pacers. Big favorites are the Pacers at 11, 233 total in this one. Some injury news to talk about. Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl are questionable. On the other side for Indy, Tyrese Halliburton and TJ McConnell are questionable. I mean, that's some pretty big backcourt news for the Pacers. I'm curious to hear if you have a lean there. And then back-to-back for Toronto, Scotty Barnes. Jakob Poeltl was out and Scotty played. He didn't do that great. Is that correct? Poeltl didn't play?
Poeltl didn't play. Yeah, he's been out for a couple of weeks now.
Do you think he comes back today?
I honestly don't know because they said he was close last time and then missed. So I don't know. Maybe if Scotty misses, it makes sense to get one guy back and give the other guy a night off. But I don't really have too strong of a lean. Like, luckily, this is the first lock on the slate. But I also don't think that it's going to open up too much. Obviously, Scotty Barnes is a higher usage player. We've seen what they're going to do with the center situation with Mo Bogan the start last time out, Orlando Robinson the couple games prior to that. So I mean, you're just adding a couple more guys to an already strong value range for center. So I don't really think that it matters too much on the Poeltl stuff. But obviously, if Barnes were to miss, that is pretty big because RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, who are already kind of in pretty good spots, in my opinion, would be the guys to look to. Did you want me to just go right in and talk about the Halliburton and TJ McConnell stuff too?
You're the best at it, Rio. You do whatever you do. I follow along.
Yeah, so Halliburton played in full against Denver and then picked up the groin injury. He had a groin injury a lot last season. I think he missed like a bulk of like towards the end of the season where they had him listed with the hamstring, and then it ended up being the groin issue. And then TJ out last game. But I guess like the Pacers, when they list guys questionable, it's more like a doubtful tag. So I don't think that TJ has a good chance to return tonight. As far as Halliburton, though, I don't really know because I was watching that game a lot and I didn't see anything where he would have picked up the injury. But I don't know. This is a good spot probably to get a night off, especially if Scotty Barnes were to miss. They should be able to beat Toronto pretty easily. Toronto kind of going back to their ways, playing really poor on the defensive side of things after a stretch where they were playing really well. I won't try to repeat myself too much, but they have no on-ball defenders now, getting rid of Davion and Bruce Brown. And then their front court defense has already been terrible, even with Poeltl in there. And then you had guys like Orlando Robinson and Jonathan Mobo. Mobo's more of a power forward. He's kind of undersized there. So the rim defense has not been very good. Pacers actually been playing pretty poor on defense as well. Bottom 10 defensive rating this month, and they're just behind the Raptors in rim defense. Or I guess in front of them, they're the 6th worst rim defense this month. But other than that, not a ton to poke on either side. Both teams are around league average in transition and pick and roll, although the Raptors are getting worse as the season goes along. So I think, but again, the Pacers don't really have a ton of high volume pick and roll guys. Like even with Halliburton in there, he's not like a Cade or like a Trae Young where he's more like dishing it off. So matchup wise, nothing really stands out too much there other than the guys that are going to be scoring a lot around the basket. But yeah, I think Barrett and Quickley are okay right now. It is back to back, and I think they would probably be more likely to manage Quickley. 7K is a pretty expensive price tag for him. I think he's kind of fully priced with a fully healthy team, but obviously that could change with if Barnes were to miss. But I think Barrett is probably the guy I'm going to look to the most tonight. He's leading the Raptors in points off of drives per game this season. And I like attacking the Pacers with wings and guys that are very drive heavy. So I think the matchup is pretty good for RJ Barrett. That's probably it though. I'm not going to be running to play Mobo or Orlando Robinson. Maybe Grady Dick. I mean, he would look a lot better if Scotty Barnes were to miss. But again, he's kind of an off-ball 3-point shooter. The Pacers are just the way they play defense is very good at taking away that type of player. But he's only 4K, so I'd probably be okay. I'm kind of talking myself into Grady Dick a little bit more because if Barnes were to miss, that's a lot of possessions to go around. So I think he would be pretty solid. And then if Halliburton and TJ were to miss, it's going to be weird because they don't really have a lot of guards that can handle the ball outside of Andrew Nembhard, and I don't really even consider him like a true point guard. He's more of like just a defensive minded guard. But I mean, he showed in the playoffs last year that he can handle that role. He was really good in a couple of those games. I forget the matchup. It might have been the Knicks.
Good at Gonzaga too, but I know like he's not like he's in the NBA for his defense. There's no doubt about that. And he does better off ball when he can just catch and shoot. But he'll have to play if they're both out. He's got to play what 38 minutes today.
I don't know about that. Probably like 35, I would say, because they did go away from him a little bit last game to go with Ben Shepherd. But obviously, you can't really do that with TJ or with Halliburton and TJ out. So yeah, I would guess that it's going to be a lot of him handling the ball and then a lot of usage going to Pascal Siakam. And then, I mean, there's not really a large enough sample size to go off with both Hallie and McConnell out. It's like a 50-minute sample. But if you just add TJ in and Halliburton out, then it's kind of clear of the way that the usage goes. Like it's a lot of Siakam usage, but then all the bench guys look a lot better. We have like a 330 to 530 minute sample of Halliburton off the court this season, and TJ is pretty obviously the guy that leads in points per minute, 1.27. So he'd be really good if he's in. Then Obi is right behind, 1.09. Mathurin, 1.07. Although Mathurin's kind of been losing a lot of minutes to Nesmith, he's kind of running away with that starting small forward job. But they're going to need some secondary offense if Halliburton were to miss. But yeah, I think Nembhard were to be the guy I'm going to be looking to, because Siakam, 7.6K, like we talk about a lot. How much room is there for upside for him? I kind of like him like more in like the low 7K range. It is a good matchup, but I would probably just be looking more to value because it is a slate. It's a big slate. We're going to need like true ceiling outcomes from basically every position that we play. And I don't know if Siakam, in comparison to a lot of the guys in that range, like Josh Hart, would look a lot better if Karl-Anthony Towns were to miss. So definitely don't think I would be going too crazy on the Siakam stuff.
I'm with you. You don't need to twist my arm. I mean, just a couple of nights ago or last week, I had a 6-6 team that would have shipped if Siakam did anything. I mean, he is so tilting. I will say, though, because the more I was looking at it, like if they are without both McConnell and Halliburton, and you don't think Nembhard plays more than 35 minutes, it would have to be Point Siakam, which that's a different ballgame. We're talking Point Siakam versus Siakam sharing the floor with Tyrese, Turner, Nesmith. Even McConnell has usage when he plays. Like they spread it out. If both of those two are out, maybe I make an exception and Siakam's fine, handle the ball a decent amount. But it's still a 9-game slate. With all that being said, it's very, very rare that Siakam does break it. Nembhard would by far be my favorite if they're both out. If, let's say, Tyrese is out and McConnell's in, could you get to McConnell at 4K? It's too big of a slate.
100%. No, I'm always down to play TJ whenever he's a value option. Like we know he doesn't need more minutes to hit in a big way, and 4K is a good price tag in a really good matchup because he's right around the basket getting all of his points. It would be a really good spot for TJ. I don't think that he's going to be playing, but
okay. If he did and Tyrese was out, though, do you think TJ would still come off the bench and they'd go like Nembhard running the one for the starters and TJ running the backup?
I think so. I think they'd probably bring in it'd probably be Mathurin or Ben Shepherd, and then they could just slide Nembhard down to the one and then Shepherd or Mathurin to the two.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's what I expected. Still not a spot I want to go overboard. This whole game really isn't. Like I'd be fine with a piece here or there, but like I wouldn't hate making a rule assuming even if Tyrese and McConnell are out, like max 2 on the Pacer side or something like that. Again, how you can do that, Rio said an easy way, team stacks, go down to like 3. This is saying you do not want 3 players on Indy. You can uncheck that. Or Toronto, we definitely didn't like that. Then you can go all the way down 4, 5, 6 if you want to make it easier. Otherwise, you can make rules. You can X out players by unchecking them like this. All right, nothing more for me to add. Not my favorite game by any means. Pacers 11-point favorites. Some big injury news, though, that we will get at lock or before lock with the locking at 7 Eastern. Next game on the slate, Philadelphia 76ers, big underdogs to Wardo's New York Knicks. 10-point favorites are the Knicks. 231 total in this one. Philly side, no Embiid, no Yabusele. On the Knicks side, Karl-Anthony Towns questionable. Is this a true Q tag? Is this a fake Q tag? You're shaking your head like it's a real one. If he's out, I mean, man, how would you ignore some of these guys? Precious probably slides into the starting lineup, but the Brunsons of the world, the Harts of the world, huge boost if Towns were to miss. If he's in, and you look at this game right here, I'm sorting by ownership. only 3 guys in the double digits, and then it falls off drastically if I sort it by value. Not looking like too great of a game to target, but yeah, that's a huge Q tag with Towns. Do you have a lean?
I don't have a lean because it's impossible to know what the Knicks are going to do. So he picked up that injury, I believe, is on Sunday. Went to the locker room. Like if you saw the clip, it looked like he was in a ton of pain. I know Wardo, if he's here, can drop some of his insights because I know he keeps
here.
up. But yeah, I mean, he looked like he was in a lot of pain. Went to the locker room, came back when they're down by like 18 or 20 with like 2.5, 3 minutes left. And then like the wording was that he wanted to like go out there and fight for his team, I guess. But yeah, he's dealt with a couple knee injuries this season, so I don't know. I mean, it's always the issue with the Knicks. They play their guys too many minutes, and they go into the playoffs just not at 100%. I would think that they play it smart here against a struggling Sixers team where they could probably win without Cat to give him the night off. But who knows? I mean, Josh Hart's dealing with a knee injury as well. He missed the first or second game coming out of the All-Star break, and I didn't even know that he's been dealing with like the same knee injury basically since he got into the NBA. I read like one of these NY Post articles about like the injuries that the Knicks are dealing with, and he basically said that it's going to flare up. Like it just flares up randomly. They call it like a runner's knee. Yeah, so they got some issues there health-wise. I don't have a lean on what they're going to do with Karl Anthony Towns, but it's the first lock on the slate, so we'll have plenty of time to react to it. But yeah, matchup-wise, really good spot for both teams. Sixers, I mean, man, they looked so bad on both ends of the court. But, I mean, defensively, they just began killed. Talk about all the time with Embiid off. Rim defense is terrible. But this month, they've been, I think, dead last in the league in three-point defense. The rebounding has gone way down as well. And then transition defense not been good either. And then the Knicks kind of the same thing. They're playing awful defense right now. Just a lot of high-scoring game environments. Their rim defense is dead last this month. They really need Mitchell Robinson back. They need some rim defense. I don't know if what they're gonna do when he comes back. If he's just gonna play the backup 5 or if they shift Cat down to the 4. But yeah, their pick and roll defense is dead last as well. So there's kind of a lot to like on both ends here. I did shout out Ward on the slate plan. He knows that I was messing with him, but yeah, I think Tyrese Maxey is in a really good spot here. Coming off of the finger injury that had him questionable last time out, shot the ball horribly. But again, like they're at the point where they need to lose a lot of games. I don't know if they're going to be running out Maxey and like Kelly Oubre for those 40 minutes that we were seeing a couple weeks ago, because it seems like right now is the time where they just start to tank. They have a top 6 protected draft pick that is going to go to the Thunder, I believe, if it's above that. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're kind of highly incentivized to lose a lot of games right now and get that high draft pick. So Joel Embiid, imagine he's done for the year. I would imagine Paul George or Tyrese Maxey get shut down pretty soon here, or they just start taking a lot of games off. But tonight, I think it's a really good matchup for Maxey. Knicks dead last in pick and roll defense. Maxey is top 11 in the league in that category, averaging 9 points per game off of drives, leading the team in usage with Embiid off the court. From a per minute standpoint, hasn't been very good, only 1.15 fantasy points per minute with Embiid off. But over the last month or so, the Knicks are bottom 5 in fantasy points allowed to opposing point guards. And the only teams that are ahead of them is the Bulls, the Wizards, the Jazz, and the Suns. So all the teams that we've been kind of attacking all season long, especially as of late. So I think it's a pretty good spot to attack this Knicks defense with Tyrese Maxey. 9.3K, good price tag. And there's a guy 30 minutes later that's getting a lot more ownership that is a lot worse. And I think Wardo would agree with me that Maxey's a better player than Trae Young, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't think I want to get to Paul George. He was on his way to like the best game of his season, but then obviously lost all the minutes due to blowout. If the game is close, I think he can still pay off the 7.1K price tag. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's just kind of dust. I do like Oubre though. He's seen a really big spike in rebounding rates with Embiid off the court this season. He was on his way to probably 40 plus minutes against the Bulls. He played 33 minutes in 3 quarters and then didn't play at all in the last 14 minutes. Knicks are allowing the fourth most threes per game this month, so pretty good matchup for Kelly Oubre. And then we got to see what they're going to do with the center spot with no Yabu. Would imagine it's going to be split 50-50. Maybe they run a little bit more small ball, but I think it's going to be a lot of Drummond and Bona tonight. And yeah, I mean Drummond at 4K is kind of interesting. If he's starting, he's been terrible this season. We were all kind of excited to play him. Like I remember like it was yesterday playing him on opening night where he was like 6K or 7K or something like that. Just because he just absolutely smashed when he was filling in for every center that he was backing up the last like 3 years. But this year just looks like he lost a step, but he still has a really solid rebounding rate, 21%. In the games without Embiid and Yabu, and then averaging over 1 fantasy points per minute. So there's definitely some upside for Drummond, but it's a very strong center position tonight. So if you don't want to risk a very low fantasy performance from Drummond, then I don't blame you at all. But I don't think that it's enough to like go down to Adembona. You're probably just choosing another center on a different team. And then, yeah, the Knicks stuff, if Cat plays, I think it's a great spot for him. Imagine he's going to be a full go because they don't manage these guys whenever they're questionable and then playing. But if he misses, it's going to be a ton of Precious. He's priced up at 6.2K, but he's probably playing like 38 minutes tonight. And then Huck Porty should get those backup center minutes. But yeah, Brunson and Hart, I think, are the guys I would look to kind of regardless. 8.9K is good for Brunson. He does see a plus 4% usage rate increase, averaging 1.3 fantasy points per minute with Cat off the court. And then Josh Hart, as you would expect, has a really big increase in rebounding rates and probably going to get a triple-double if Cat is out, has a 3% rebounding rate increase, 18.5% usage rate, 20% assist percentage. So all the numbers that you'd want to see for somebody that's going to be priced at 8K because he's probably going to get a triple-double if Cat were to miss. So yeah, I like the top 3 guys, and I'd have a ton of interest in Precious if Cat were to miss.
And for Drummond, like you keep saying, center is really good, and it definitely is. 2 guys right in that same range, Day'Ron Sharpe and Zach Collins. I take it like you can't make it. Not that you can't make a case, but those 2 are much better plays in a vacuum than Drummond. Obviously, they'll be higher owned, but you wouldn't rank Drummond above one of those guys, would you?
I think you could make the case that he's better than Day'Ron Sharpe because the Nets have shown no willingness to play him a ton of minutes. So I think from a minutes perspective, the ceiling is higher on Drummond. But yeah, I think he's probably a good couple points behind Zach Collins in my eyes.
Okay, you just saying that alone, like I set min exposure at 10, which like if I got 10, 11, 12, you're pretty much at the field. But like we're going to get to Day'Ron Sharpe. He's going to be a lot higher owned. That's a clear pivot you can make in a lot chalkier lineups. Again, when you do run Saber Sim, whether you have the Sims or it's just Saber Score, it takes into ownership projections, all of that into account. So when you're eating more chalk in other spots, I would not hate by any means a Drummond pivot from Sharpe. Doesn't mean it has to be a 1v1, but you are getting a lot less ownership when you're doing that. It is like I love Maxey. I always love Maxey, but you definitely have me concerned. Like if this is would they be as obvious as if it's a close game, they just bench Maxey and George or stuff like that? Or are we still a little too early into like the April ball and stuff that they're not going to quite make it that obvious?
No, I think I think it's a little too early. Also, I mean, Nick Nurse is kind of fighting for his job. I would say, like, it's been pretty bad this season.
Wouldn't your job be to lose? Like, do you think he's getting told that he is it like a Mayo situation in New England? I mean, losing that pick to OKC would be brutal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, maybe that's a good point. I don't know. I think it's a little too early for them to fully punt it off, but like we're gonna know within the next game or two, Embiid is done for the year. Like I think everybody kind of already is thinking that. Like they're talking about. I don't know if you saw like the potential like surgery they're gonna do on him, but it's like a weird like hip displacement thing. It's just crazy. Like it's gonna be a long road to recovery for him.
For sure. Yeah, it'd be Maxey, Drummond, or nothing. I guess Oubre's fine. The thing is, on a 9-game slate with these concerns, like I don't want to run into a 30-minute Maxey. Like I want my 35, 36, 37. It's going to be low owned, but probably just one Nick and then move on from there is how most of my lineups would go about it. All right, let's keep it rolling. No time to waste. Again, appreciate every single one watching. 315. All we ask, like button, subscribe button. It does help us out a ton. And yes, we are showing off SaberSim, the most valuable partnership. Just a couple days ago was made. Again, this is the graphic. If you're new, if you just want our content, $79 a month. You want the core package, 150 lineups in Saber with late swap, $99, the best value for sure. $129, 30 more from the core. Gets you 350 more lineups with projections and ownership for Saber for all the sports. They offer it, not just the ones we do, and contest flashback. If you're playing $1,000 plus a month, you want to try the Sims, It's going to be $321. All these prices will be going up after launch, so there's no better time to get in now. When you do get in, you're grandfathered in. The prices will not change for you. If you do want to try out the Sims, $297 right now will be $321. Again, screen share and Saber. Have a Saber Sim portion in Discord. So many videos out there on YouTube for Saber Sim 2 if you have questions about that.
I just want to bring this up really quick because I do think Klingon, if you're going to play him, FanDuel makes a ton of sense where you get the 3 points for the block. Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's keep it rolling. Next game on the slates. The Boston Celtics coming in. Yeah, it's Boston, Detroit. Boston Celtics. Why in the world? Hold on a second. Where is this on DraftKings? They don't have. Oh, it's the top one. All right. Again, I'm taking the real live odds and totals on DraftKings Sportsbook. I couldn't find it for a sec. It was all the way at the top. The last game that locks at 7 Eastern. 5-point favorites are the Celtics taking on the Detroit Pistons. 226.5 total. I'm like, man, why is Boston only 5-point favorites over the Pistons? The Pistons have been playing good ball, but that's a lot of respect. There is a lot of Q tags on the Boston side, though. KP gets ruled out after lock due to illness. Unbelievable. Jaylen Brown is questionable in this one. Sam Hauser's questionable in this one. On the Detroit side, Simone Fontecchio out. Dennis Schroeder questionable. I guess, do you have a lean? Again, we're going to get this news with Boston and Detroit prior to lock. 7 Eastern, this game is at 7. And a huge thing with our Discord, not is it just by far the best community, people cheering each other on. It's NBA especially. You're tagging people when they're out. Things do change. You add little notes, and that is after lock, this late swap and stuff, you still have your own control on what you want in SaberSim when swapping. Huge portion of our product is Discord. I think it's the most important personally, but the reason I said that, we will get this news before lock, at least hopefully, unlike yesterday with Porzingis. If these guys are out though, like Porzingis again, Jaylen Brown, you're going to want some of these guys. It was bad for Queta, even with Porzingis hurt yesterday. Pritchard and Derek White, though, most definitely was not bad for them. Jaylen Brown injury big on that side. And then, yeah, if we're looking right now, sorting by our value, not really great in this game, but the Pistons do pop up as the top 3 values. I will say, though, this is projecting all of KP, Brown, and Hauser in. So this most definitely could change. But if everyone's healthy, it looks like a fade in terms of at least what the field's doing, and probably me too.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of still like Tatum regardless of the injury situation. There's been a lot of talk just about like his resume up to this point, and it's pretty crazy. Like you compare it to, I don't know if you saw the graphic where it was like,
I did it, but I also like he's thinking about what other people think too much. He can't That's what one of the best comments was. Like the other people don't care. You think Jokic would complain if people don't think he's like 1, 2, or 3? Like Tatum shouldn't. I agree with him.
Yeah, his
whole resume 26. Who cares? Keep doing your thing. That's why people will always chirp.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's like there was like, I don't know what the interview was with Joe Mazzulla, but they were saying like, oh, Tatum gets a lot of unfair criticism, and then Mazzulla's like, or I forgot what he said, like what the wording was, but like he gets to deal with it, or like he faces a lot of unfair criticism, and he gets the criticism because he's earned it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like he's kind of, I don't know. You don't have to, like when you're trying to prove yourself too much by saying all these things, it like starts to mean a little bit less. Like just let your play speak for it.
You're caring what others like us think way too much. Random people watching you on TV, like, dude, you're obviously one of the best. Keep doing your thing. Don't care. This guy has you 8 and this guy has you 6. Like,
yeah,
who gives a fuck?
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, with that being said, the injury stuff, obviously the Porzingis like shit that happened yesterday was you just can't really plan for that. There was no reporting on it, which is always very frustrating. They said that they held him out because they wanted him to be fully healthy for this game, because it is kind of a big game just in terms of I guess just like media attention. Detroit is arguably the hottest team in the NBA right now. They won 7 straight games, ranking 3rd in offensive rating over that stretch, 3rd in defense, 3rd in net rating. So just playing really, really good basketball right now. The rim defense has been slightly worse in comparison to their season average in that in the last 7 games or so, 3-point shooters have been the way that you want to beat Detroit all season long, as well as their pick and roll defense not being great, but it's getting a lot better with Asar Thompson out there. And then Boston coming off of another, I mean, it was a fairly easy win last night against Toronto. They let him hang around a bit too long, I would say. But yeah, I think that Brown probably closer to doubtful. There was the beat reporters were saying that he was kind of hobbling up and down the court, and he did only play like 33 minutes. Pritchard checked in for like the last 3 or 4 minutes for Jaylen Brown. They said it was a thigh contusion, like a thigh bruise, but Joe Mazzulla said like he's dealing with a couple different things. He was just kind of getting nicked up throughout the whole game. So yeah, that's really big news, obviously, because Tatum is going to be in play regardless in my eyes, but he would be a very, very strong option if Jaylen Brown were to miss, because he does see the highest or a 3.7% usage rate increase, averaging 1.38 fantasy points per minute. And then in the 9 games without Jaylen Brown this season, he is averaging 52.3 DK points, which would be a very good projection at his 9.9K price tag. And I think the matchup is quite good. Detroit allowing more 3-pointers than usual this season. And kind of struggling to defend players like Jason Tatum. I don't know if they're going to be throwing a Sar Thompson on him or if it's going to be like a Tobias Harris, but I think he should have the advantage there regardless. So I do like Tatum a lot, even with Brown in, but if he's out, I think he's probably the top spend on the slate, in my opinion. And then Porzingis should have a really solid role, and I like the matchup a lot for him, assuming that he's going to be a full go. Jalen Duren is a really good rim protector. Same with Isaiah Stewart. They have one of the top rim defenses in the league, but they do play a lot of drop coverage, so that leads to a lot of pick and pop stuff for centers like Kristaps Porzingis. So I think matchup wise, if you look at like the DVP stats, it would say that it's a bad spot for KP, but I think that stylistically it's pretty good for him, and that's kind of backed up when you look at the numbers. Pistons allow the 3rd most threes per game to opposing big men. So yeah, I think Kristaps is pretty solid if he's in. Derek White playing a lot better as of late. He does see the biggest usage rate increase, and kind of whenever anybody is out within the starting lineup, he's the guy that always benefits the most. Plus 4.2%, which is the highest increase in usage rate with Brown off the court, 1.1 fantasy points per minute. Coming into the game in really good rhythm, dropping 41 plus DK points in 3 of his last 4 games. I think the ownership remains in check on him at 6.9K because that is expensive, but I think the matchup is pretty good for Derek White. I think Pritchard would probably be needed a lot more if Brown were to be out. He does have a pretty solid per minute average with Brown off the court this season. They will need some secondary offense in that second unit with Jaylen Brown out. So slightly boost for Pritchard if Jaylen Brown were to miss, and then Sam Hauser should get the start. But I mean, he's dealing with an injury as well. Picked up a lower back injury. Probably one of those things where he's just played a ton of minutes and he's just kind of sore. But yeah, I mean, if he plays, going to be needed as well. They need that off-ball scoring. I don't think that I'm going to get to Al Horford on this slate. I think we need more upside than he provides at 4.9K. And then Pistons side is pretty straightforward. I think it's kind of Cade or bust. And I think that the matchup is pretty good for Cade as well. As you know, the Boston is probably one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best teams in the league for sure. But they do struggle against guards like Cade, who are very pick and roll heavy. Boston is bottom 4 in pick and roll defense this season, and Cade is the 2nd best pick and roll scorer from a points per game perspective, right behind Trae Young, I believe. And he's been on an absolute tear this month, averaging 56.2 DraftKings points per game, 28.1 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 10.6 assists. So you can pencil him in for a double-double and pretty close to a triple-double just based off of his monthly average. This is the 3rd time, or this will be the 4th time these teams have faced, and he's done pretty solid against them, averaging 51.5 DraftKings points, put up 42.5, 61.3, and then 40.5 in those 3 games. I think ownership probably stays in check on him. I think he's a very solid spend-up option, so I like him a good bit. And then if you're looking to end these secondary guys, I think it's probably Duren and Malik Beasley you're considering. Matchup's not great for Duren, but he's just kind of rounding into form right now. And then Malik Beasley, just spark plug off the bench, going to be chucking it. Don't think the matchup is too terrible. Boston has been known to give up more threes at times. And 5.1K is a reasonable price tag. Kind of skipped over Schroeder, but I think he's going to play tonight. He's been kind of playing through injuries all season long.
I like your write-up. Again, I'm not pulling up the slate plan, but I definitely read the slate plan. It's up. You had a good one with Cade, and then a little nugget you added in there, a lot of nuggets. But when you do play Cade, you're more likely to play a Derek White or Porzingis, a Tatum, etc. Because if Cade does get there fully, you expect probably someone on the Boston side and to get there. And if Jaylen Brown's in, or if Jaylen Brown's out, like you expect, even easier to get to some of those Boston pieces. Definitely expect Cade's ownership to stay in check. But I do think Tatum probably one of the more popular plays on the slate if Jaylen Brown is ruled out. All right, let's keep it rolling, Rio. Great job. Still plenty of games to talk about. No time to waste. 7:30 Eastern, Miami Heat coming in as 2.5-point favorites over the Atlanta Hawks. 233 total. No injury news on the Atlanta side to talk about. For Miami, Bam is questionable. Throw it right to you on that. Bam being questionable. Do you think he's in? Do you think he's out? And yeah, you sort by ownership in this game. You sort by value. Definitely a game you cannot ignore. Solid total, close spread. Yeah, I guess start with the Bam stuff. Do you think he plays? Do you think he's out?
I feel like he probably plays. He did play through the same Q tag last time out. It's a calf contusion, which is usually not something to worry about too much. But obviously, that's going to open up a lot of different things. It's going to open up a starting spot. It's going to open up a ton of usage and rebounding and just assist. So it would look pretty good and probably something you'd want to be planning for. I think the way that you're planning for it is just to play Kyle Anderson, but I think he's kind of a great play regardless. So if you're playing him and Bam is in, I wouldn't feel too bad about it. If Bam is out, then it's just like a lock and like a near 150 max 100% lock in my opinion at 3.4K if he's starting. But yeah, this is a rematch of Monday night's game, which was an embarrassing game. I checked the score, and sometimes if you're checking like DK or like ESPN.com, they'll say like 3 minutes and there'll be like 6 minutes left. Actually, like the numbers don't match up. It was like 33-35 with 2.5 minutes left in the first half. And I went to Discord. I was like, is this score for real? Like, what the fuck is going on?
I saw that too. I checked on the ESPN app and I saw that too. I was like, another Chicago Bull performance, except at least they played a little defense.
Yeah, that was crazy because I don't think that Atlanta plays fast paced. Like there should have been a lot of points scored, and the game total on that one was 130 plus, I think, or 230 plus. But yeah, I think that was kind of due to, I think both teams were on a back-to-back then. I know for sure Miami was. Atlanta might have been on a back-to-back as well, so that could have been the reason why. But this is the closest line game of the night. Miami's favored by 2 points and a decently solid game total as well. So I think it's a game you're probably going to want to have some exposure to in some degree. There are some clear pathways to both teams putting up solid scores on offense. Miami plays a lot of zone defense, so it leads to them being a lot more of a 3-point funnel. And then Atlanta giving up a ton of rim points this month, while also being bottom 3 in pick and roll defense. Starting with the Atlanta side, I don't know, man. Trae Young, Eric Spoelstra's done a really good job drawing up game plans against Trae Young this season and even day back to last season. Like he hasn't topped 11 points in each of the 2 games against Miami so far. Probably gets back on track here, but he went 0 for 7 from the field. Like he is the definition of a GPP play. And I think, I don't know, like coming in with a good amount of ownership, probably something to be underweight on. Like I mentioned, I like Tyrese Maxey more for $100 less in a much better matchup. I'm just kind of sticking by that. But it obviously would not surprise me to see Trae go for 60 tonight because he has done it in tougher matchups. But I just think that Spoelstra kind of has his number right now. So I'm going to take the underweight stance on Trae. Hope that he busts again. Hope that I can look up like halfway through the night and see Wardo post the picture in Discord. But yeah, I think like Dyson Daniels he just provides so much more of a safer play at 6.7K and been playing really good lately. Coming off another double-double, 41.25 DK points against Miami. He's averaging right around 41 DraftKings points per game this month. So I do like him a lot more than Trae tonight. It's just a lot less of an opportunity cost, especially since he's shooting guard and Trae is just point guard. Usually going to need a really big score from that point guard position. Good price tag for Okongwu as well, 5.8K. Kind of seems like Quinn Snyder's okay playing him 30 minutes now. He's been right around the 29 to 30 minute mark in each of his last 3 games, top 35 DK points in each of those games as well. So whenever you get those minutes, it's going to be a pretty good night for Okongwu, but very strong center position tonight. If I had to choose like between him and Klingon in the same range, I'd probably side with Klingon for the matchup being a little bit better. I think that ultimately probably has a little bit more upside, but I do have interest in Okongwu tonight. And then George Niang, my guy, 4.3K. I mean, he's shooting the ball a ton since coming over from Atlanta. Like he's had a really, really strong role coming off the bench, and he's done really good. Put up 35 plus DK points in half the games coming over from Atlanta, and or coming over from Cleveland, and it's a good matchup for 3-point shooters. So I don't mind George Niang as a value play. And then switching over to Miami, I'm kind of going right back to Hero at 8.6K. I think it's a really good matchup. He had a really down game off the back-to-back, 4 for 19 from the field, 0 for 9 from deep. I still think it's a good matchup for him, though, with the Hawks being bottom 3 in pick-and-roll defense. And he's shown slate-breaking upside at this price tag, especially if Bam were to miss. Like, that's going to be a huge role for Tyler Hero. And then Bam is in a good spot if he's in, though. It's a weak rim defense on the other side. I don't really have a ton to say there. He's kind of expensive, but it's a good matchup. I think that Wiggins is actually pretty sneaky, though, or maybe he's not sneaky from what I'm seeing. Ownership looks pretty high on him, but it's a good matchup. The Hawks are a team that gets beat in transition a lot. Wiggins is a very good transition scorer, and he's been very consistent since coming over from Golden State, 20-plus real points in 3 straight games. And Eric Spoelstra is really tightening up the rotation right now. He's playing a ton of minutes, been right in like the 36 to 40-minute range in each of the last 3 games. So, yeah, I do like Wiggins a lot at 6.6K, where he's going to benefit from Jovic being out because Jovic was taking some of those minutes. Did put up a double-double. Been pretty solid last couple of games. I don't really have a lot to say about him. I wish that he had dual eligibility because I would like him a lot more, but there's just a lot to like at the center position. I don't think I want to waste a rostered spot on Khalil Ware. And I kind of already mentioned Carl Anderson. He basically slotted right in for the Jovic role. Played 28 minutes off the bench, and Spoelstra likes him a lot. I think he closed last game over Ware. So if you wanted to make a rule, probably be max one of those 2 guys, but definitely max 2 of the Bam, Ware, and Kyle Anderson grouping.
Awesome. I love it. Great breakdown there. One of the best games to target, no doubt. A lot of plays on both sides, close to spread, solid total. It's going to come with ownership, as you see, though. Moving from one game that's really good to one game that I think is really bad. Big boy favorites are the OKC Thunder, 16.5, taking on the Brooklyn Nets, 217.5 total in this one. No injury news on the OKC side. For Brooklyn, D-Russ and Claxton are out. So Day'Ron Sharpe, we talked about him earlier. Look at that ownership. Not sure it'll quite get that big. It might, though. I mean, still probably a lot of injuries to come. Center's really good. He will be one of the most popular. Killian Hayes will continue to start. For D'Angelo Russell, it's really easy for me. Like, sort by value on the OKC side. I mean, it's awful. It's a fully healthy team. They're all priced like they should be, and they probably won't play fourth quarter, at least most of the fourth quarter, if the spread does hold true. I think the net side a little more interesting. But, I mean, I guess what guys are still going to play in the fourth quarter if they're down 30 is the guys I want to play. But, yeah, no OKC for me. How do you see it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's pretty close to full cross-off outside of some of the value on the net side. But I'll just touch on OKC quickly. Kind of my general rule, especially with Shea at this price tag, is to not play him when everybody is in because he's not shown much of a ceiling playing alongside Chet this season. The per minute stuff and usage all comes way down while they share the court together. So, yeah, I just don't think that you're going to be wanting to play Shea at 10.8K. Like, I honestly think that you could probably just X him out. There's probably like a, I don't know, 1 to 3% chance that Brooklyn keeps it close and we get full minutes from Shea.
Even still, like, he's got outscored Cade, he's got outscored Tatum, Harden, Maxey, like Sabonis at a different position, but like if all that goes right, he still might not even be on the winner. I'd rather sounds like you like Cade a ton at really low ownership. Like almost all my SGA ownership, I just go right to Cade. Like, get me more overweight on a lower owned guy you like more. But again, if you play 150 or something, it can be a part of your portfolio for sure. But sorry, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think you kind of broke it down great because I agree with you 100%. The blowout angle for the Thunder, I don't know if it's worth even doing this, but like Aaron Wiggins, first of all, he's been playing great this season, but like as of late, for sure, he's probably going to be out there in blowout tonight just because I don't think they're going to, like, none of the starters will be out there. I know that for sure. I don't think they're going to want Caruso, or they definitely won't want Caruso or Case and Wallace just because they're a little bit more injury prone. So that leaves them with Wiggins, Joe, Kenrich, Flagler, Jang, and Jalen Williams. I don't think they'll have Joe out there either. So it's probably Aaron Wiggins as a fifth man. If you wanted to take like I don't know, that's just a kind of, you're asking for a lot to go right there at 5.2K, but that would be the only person I'm kind of considering on OKC tonight. For the Brooklyn side, though, yeah, don't be surprised if it's Watford starting at center. They just haven't really shown a willingness to play Day'Ron Sharpe a ton of minutes. Now he's a very, very good per minute producer with Claxton off the court, 1.37 fantasy points per minute in a fairly large sample. Obviously the matchup sucks. OKC, one of the best overall defenses, but their rim defense has been really, really good this season. I think that just role wise, Trendon Watford is probably the guy that I have a little bit more interest in because he's not too far behind him from a per minute perspective, 1.32 fantasy points per minute with Claxton off the court. Probably going to get the start. And he has shown a little bit more ball handling as of late. His assist rate kind of jump off the chart, 36% with Claxton off the court this season. So the role, I think it does favor Watford a little bit more. You get that power forward eligibility. Maybe he plays in a blowout. I doubt it just because he was a little bit injured this season. But I think he might be the guy that I want over Day'Ron Sharpe tonight.
Sorry, I like it. That's all. So right here, this is assuming Day'Ron Sharpe is starting, though. Don't get that twisted. Like, his projection would go down. His ownership would go down if Watford is announced starting. So just want to keep that in mind. And Watford's would go up if he is starting, but everything you said makes sense. I want no OKC. I want a max. Probably one Brooklyn at the end of the day. This is not a game I want much exposure. As you see up here, like, I love how the team totals, when you get to baseball, love how you have the run totals up there. Hockey, how many goals are implied. Like, this is awesome up here. You can see the only one in single digits is the Brooklyn Nets. Not by much, but still, when you're comparing to 116s, 118s, 116, you got to put the ball in the hoop to score. Actually, you can get 1 billion rebounds, so I guess that's not true. Who just did the 0 points stat line? Nurkic? Was it Nurkic as of late that had like a solid game with 0 points?
That was the showdown game where I think he went 0 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, and like 26 fantasy points.
Yeah, so I mean, to get assists, someone's got to put the ball in the hoop. If you get 1 billion rebounds, I guess you can get there. But yeah, I don't want many Nets. Probably one max. OKC, not a fan either at full health and the same pricing or efficient pricing with everyone back. There's no pricing mistakes on the DraftKings side. All right, let's keep it going, Rio. 3 games left on the slate. This game at 8 p.m. Eastern. Los Angeles Clippers coming in as 8.5-point favorites over the Chicago Bulls, 228 total. Injuries in this one, Norm Powell's out. Pretty big news for the Clippers. Chicago side, no Vooch. We got that notification earlier. Io is questionable. No Vooch. Zach Collins. That's why, obviously, you see him all the way up here. Besides that, though, like, this is a relatively – we talked about it. Chicago got a bunch of new guys. You did say that they were condensing the rotation a bit. Shout out Kevin Huerter. He had quite the day. Josh Giddey, man, is this the best player in the NBA? Best DFS player? He's been on fire. So I don't think it's a spot we can ignore. Collins is going to get a lot of ownership. This game in general, when you sort it, no Norm on the Clipper side pretty big. No Vooch on the Bulls side pretty big. And does that Q tag do anything to you within the backcourt out a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's kind of making Huerter a much better play if Io were to miss because I don't know. They kind of view Io as like a power forward now, and we saw Buzelis get up to 36 last time. Like we said all the time, like they just have a surplus of guards, but I think that it would probably benefit Kevin Huerter the most. And then obviously with LA getting Kawhi back, no Norm, that should be pretty good for them. And it's a good spot to attack, like all Bulls games are. They're going to bring the pace. Clippers have been kind of bad on defense as of late. Don't know how much of that is contributed to them just kind of like figuring out the rotations or Kawhi not being at full strength. They've been mixing in like Ben Simmons and Bogdanovic, who is, I don't know why they traded for him. I think he's dust. Like I think he's done. There's something wrong with his knees or his shot. Like he just can't make anything. He started the last game against who was that? Was the Pistons, I think, which should have been a decent matchup for him. Shot 1 for 12 from 3-point range. I don't think he made his first 3 until he had missed 9 or something like that. So yeah, just been a rough go for Bogdan this season. But yeah, the Bulls giving up a ton of rim points this season. I don't think that's going to change too much. They were really good against the Sixers, but the Sixers look like they're just bad on offense right now. But they're giving up a ton of volume to pick and roll heavy guards, so it should be a good spot for Harden. For the Clippers, they've been giving up a ton of 3-point volume this month, ranking bottom 6 in that category, and the Bulls take a ton of threes. So good matchup, and I think they could hang around. Like I don't think that the Clippers are going to be blowing out too many teams right now. And Chicago looked pretty good last time out, but kind of temper the expectations a little bit because it was against the Sixers. But I do think there's a chance that they could hang around here. It's a really good matchup for Harden, though, but nearly 10K price tag. Bulls are dead last in DVP versus point guards, bottom 6 pick and roll. So there's a lot to like about him. They're allowing the most assists per game to point guards. So yeah, should be probably a double-double for Harden pretty easily here. With Kawhi back, should take away a little bit of usage, but the scoring and assist, I think, are going to come with ease. He's been playing a ton of minutes lately. There was some talk about Ty Lue playing him too many minutes, so maybe those come down here in a game. It's like Vegas seems to think that they can win it pretty easily. But if it's close, like he's probably getting back up to 38 tonight because they kind of need to win a lot of games. They've gone on a slight losing streak as of late, or they're not playing as great as they were earlier. So I think they've kind of fallen down the standings a little bit. I have to double check that. But yeah, this is definitely a game that they should be able to put up a lot of points. So Harden is the guy that I'm starting with. Zubac has a very great matchup with the Bulls being the worst rim defense in the league. But I was looking at the numbers. So there's 3 games with Zoo playing or with Ben Simmons playing and Zubac playing. In those 3 games, he's only averaging 31 minutes per game. So they seem to like Ben Simmons coming off the bench and playing that small ball center. The Bulls have basically no big men behind Zach Collins tonight, so the game does have a chance to play smaller because there's no Jalen Smith and no Vucevic. So they literally don't have another center on the roster behind Zach Collins. So there's a small chance that the game does play smaller, which would hurt Zubac, but I think he has a very appealing ceiling case because it's a really, really good matchup for him. But I think Kawhi is probably the guy that I have the most interest in on the Clipper side. All the talk from Ty Lue getting him ramped up in the second half of the season has kind of held true. He's been around the 34-minute range coming off of back-to-back 25-point games. Should be well rested after sitting out for 5-6 days, whatever it is. And I do think he has some ceiling at 7.2K. I think that 50-plus is within the range of outcomes in this matchup. And he's been very solid in the minutes with Powell off the court this season. So I think Kawhi is probably the guy I'm looking to here on the Chicago side or the Clipper side, but I think it's just those top 3. Probably don't want to mess with the value plays tonight. And then the Chicago side, Giddey, like you said, been playing great as of late. I mean, he's been like 58 to 60 plus DraftKings points in 3 straight games. Had a really good role last time out, 25% usage rate, 32% assist percentage, 19% rebounding rate over his last 3 games with no Vooch. So, or all 3 of those games weren't without Vooch, but over the last 3 games, that's where he's been. So I think it's a good spot for him. I think a much tougher matchup than the ones that he's been facing because they're going to have a lot of Chris Dunn, Kawhi, Derrick Jones Jr. on Giddey tonight. But the role is just really, really good right now. So I don't mind him at 7.7K. It seems like he's taken a lot of the right shots, doing a lot of the right things, and he's been rewarded with playing more minutes. So I don't mind him. Probably skipping all the way down from Giddey to Buzelis. If Iowa were to be out, I think that definitely helps him from a minute perspective. Got up to 36 last game. So he'd be kind of in play regardless of who the matchup is at 4.8K if he's playing that many minutes. And then Zach Collins' first start for the Bulls played 28 minutes, but it honestly was trending to be more like 35. He had 2 fouls in the first quarter, and I think he picked up a third one in somebody could double check me on that, but I think he had like 2 or 3 quick ones and kind of lost a half rotation. Still got to 28, and then there was the blowout. So he was kind of trending for like 34 to 35. So maybe he matches Zubac here, and even though it's a tough matchup with the rim protection of the Clippers being good and the rebounding is really good, he's always been a pretty solid permanent guy when he's given the minutes. So I think 4.4K, there's still some room left for upside for Zach Collins.
I like it. Great breakdown, Rio. 2 games left on the slate. And again, as you can see, these first 7 games all lock within the hour. Then you have a 1-hour window to this next game. Then 30 minutes after that. Nobody better to talk about a little Utah Jazz game than yourself. They are big dogs like always, though, Rio. This team is cheeks. 9-point favorites are the Kings. 236.5 total. Just because they're bad in terms of real life doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad in DFS. Definitely could give up some big games. Problem is the Kings are fully healthy. On the Utah side, they're without Markkanen and John Collins, though. If you see, again, we're sorting by value. Decent amount of guys above the 5X that I usually look at. You sort by ownership. Not too much ownership going to this game. I guess I'll start by throwing it to you. Do you think Utah can keep the game close, because that'll dictate a lot in DFS.
Yeah, I actually do. They've been playing decently in the second half of the season. I think they are kind of figuring out the rotation. There hasn't been like the weird stuff where they're playing like 12 guys and playing a bunch of non-NBA caliber guys. I think right now is, outside of obviously not having Sexton and Collins and Markkanen, like probably the best roster that they have had this season. So I actually do think they can keep pace in this game, because Sacramento, like outside of blowing out Charlotte, which if you haven't seen, like it's like the worst 3-game stretch in the history of NBA. Like they lost by like 40 and 50 and like 35 or something. But like outside of that, like I don't think that they're really capable of blowing out too many teams. The spread would indicate otherwise, but it's a home game for Utah. So traveling into altitude for Sacramento, I think the Jazz could hang around here. They've been playing a little bit better defensively as of late, while Sacramento has not been playing great defensively. If you just kind of take away throughout that game against Charlotte, like they're allowing a ton, like bottom 5 in defensive rating this month, allowing the 4th most threes per game. Jazz are allowing the 3rd most. And the rim defense, which has kind of been the strong suit for Sacramento all season long, has kind of gone downhill. They're bottom 8 this month in rim defense. And then the Jazz, same thing as normal. Like they're dead last in transition, the dead last in turnover percentage. So those guys that score out in transition should look really good here. I guess I'll just start with LaVine, because he's the guy that I have the most interest in at 7.8K. He came over from the Bulls and was kind of ice cold. I think he was like he had made like 2 or 3 threes in like his first 5 games as a member of the Kings, but kind of showing some signs of life here. Put up 32 and 42 real points in 2 of his last 3 games, 53.25 and 58 DK points. But just a really, really good spot for LaVine to build off of those strong games with the Jazz being dead last in transition and 3-point defense this season. LaVine is actually first in the league in transition scoring by nearly a 3-point margin, with Giannis being second. So a pretty elite.
That's a stat.
Yeah, pretty crazy stat there when you consider like Giannis is getting a lot of his buckets in transition. So it's 3 points clear of him basically. I think there's a lot to like about LaVine here. I don't think ownership is going to get too out of hands either with this being such a large slate. But yeah, I think LaVine really, really good tonight. And then I'll jump back up to Sabonis. He's kind of rarely going to bury you at 9.7K. It's a decent matchup. So the Jazz rim defense has been good this season. Their pick and roll defense has been really good, with Walker Kessler kind of improving as a rim protector, but they're still bottom 5 in DVP to opposing centers, mainly due to them allowing more 3-pointers made per game and allowing a ton of steals and blocks. I don't really view Sabonis as like the defensive-minded big man, so I don't think this is where he has a huge game. He does have a pretty crazy high 3-point percentage. I believe he's like 3rd or 4th in the league at like 43% or something like that. Shooting the ball really well, but not taking a ton of threes. Even in the game where you look back where he had 64 DraftKings points, it took him 28 rebounds to get there. I think you would think when somebody's getting 28 rebounds, they're probably getting like 70 plus. So I think that Sabonis, really good matchup, probably getting you 50 plus. He's going to get you a double-double. I don't know if he's getting you 70 that we're probably going to need tonight. And then similar to LaVine, I think Monk is in a pretty good spot here. We've been attacking the Jazz all year long with guards because they have little to no on-ball defense. I mentioned the pick-and-roll defense is good. A lot of that is due to Walker Kessler, but you have seen Malik Monk get his minutes cut down in certain matchups that lean to Sacramento needing more on-ball defense. I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue here with Collier and Clarkson and Keontae George on the other side. It's not like a Luka or like a LaMelo where they would need some more Keon Ellis. So I think that his minutes are fairly safe here at 7.5K. I like LaVine and Monk a good bit here. And then DeRozan showing a little bit more upside post-Fox trade, put up 50 a couple times. More than likely going to get you like 35 to 40, which would be okay, but he's priced right around Kawhi, who I do prefer a little bit more in a better matchup. Probably it. I don't think that I'm really too into Keegan. He's like the 5th option on offense now. And then the Jazz side, I think Walker Kessler is okay with the Kings struggling to defend the paint as of late. Kings are a really good rebounding team, so the true upside may be a little bit tougher to come by for him, but they are allowing over 2 blocks per game to opposing centers. And then we've seen whenever Kessler is healthy, like he's playing 34 to 35 minutes, and he maybe matches up all those minutes with Sabonis tonight, which could be like 36 to 38. They did that against the Suns. He had like 38 minutes. I believe against the Nuggets earlier this season, he matched Jokic's minutes. So I think Kessler is okay. Keontae is starting to get a little bit too expensive for me. I think I would probably just get down to Clarkson at 6.4K, assuming that he's going to start. He's not going to be playing on back-to-backs anymore in the season, so they'll probably run up his minutes in games that he does play, get away from Svi a little bit more, and then the Kings being a pretty big three-point funnel does line up pretty well for Jordan Clarkson. So I like him the best besides Walker Kessler.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this ownership with Walker, if you think he can play 35 minutes, like I think that's a slam dunk play. Again, center's really loaded. A lot of your builds probably will be 2 centers, but I like that. And I like your take on like DeRozan. I just hit the X button. I ain't playing freaking DeRozan. If he beats me, beats me. Sabonis thing, like you said, it reminds me like what you said about Zion yesterday. It just doesn't feel like he's going to absolutely break the slate, nuke the slate. Like you didn't love Trae Young today, but you even said like he could get you 70 and you wouldn't be shocked. I'd rather Cade Cunningham done it multiple times. I'd rather take a shot on some of those other studs personally than Sabonis at just center at a strong center position. Awesome stuff, Rio. 1 game left on the slate. Got that drink of water. You're ready to rock. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. 8.5-point favorites are the Houston Rockets over the San Antonio Spurs. 228.5 total. Injuries in this one, nothing on the Spurs side, and that Charles Bassey's out, but doesn't really mean anything. Fred VanVleet also out, and Tari Eason. They said yesterday Fred was going to miss 2 more games, and then Tari gets the day off today with a rest. Are they just like every othering Tari Eason at this point? That's what it looks like as of late. But no Q tags we're really waiting on. Looking at this, like give me Sengun for $1,200 cheaper than Sabonis any day at the center position, which is kind of why going back to the last game, I really don't like Sabonis much. Dylan Brooks had a good game yesterday. CP3 did solid. Jalen Green is always interesting. I mean, Fox, you talked about him, liked him a lot yesterday. This looks like a pretty interesting DFS game. You sort by ownership, not too much. So maybe just a couple pieces on both sides. How do you see it?
Yeah, I wanna like this game a lot because Houston's not been playing great defensively. They were really good earlier in the season and for a big stretch of the middle of the season, but kind of slipping as of late. It's just, I don't know, man. Like the Spurs situation is starting to get like really tough to feel confident in, and Fox is starting to get priced up now to I think probably the price that he should be without Wemby. And then all these other guys, like they just don't do enough. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they sit somebody tonight with it being a back-to-back. I'm not sure if they've filed anything on the injury report outside of Bassey. But I mean, they just keep losing games. Like it's getting gross. So if you want to take a shot with Bassey out, like Sandro maybe in blowout, he gets there. But yeah, I don't know. It's not a lot to like here on the Spurs side. The pick and roll defense for the Rockets been terrible. So if you want to choose anybody, it's probably De'Aaron Fox and hope that the game stays close. I don't think that the matchup is too bad. I haven't really been avoiding playing guards against Houston this season because for that reason. But like they don't really have like he's not even averaging a ton of points in pick and roll. So it's not nobody really stands out here. So I think you can kind of make this like 16 teams to choose from instead of 18 because you're probably Xing out OKC and Xing out San Antonio from how I'm seeing it. But the Houston side definitely like a lot here. Not a lot, but I like a decent bit here. I think Amen is good with no Eason and no Fred VanVleet tonight. Just kind of go back what you said. So Tari is not playing back-to-backs right now. I don't think he's been cleared yet. And Steven Adams has not been cleared. He didn't play yesterday, so I think that was kind of like a planned rest, but didn't have him listed on the injury report. But yeah, Tari cannot play back-to-backs right now from my understanding. But yeah, Amen, I think he's in a good spot here. The rim defense for the Spurs is literally dead last without Wemby the last 4 games. And Amen's going to be getting downhill a lot here. He was okay last night. He started out pretty good, did a little bit of everything, was a 1 point and 1 rebound shy of the double-double. Only took 8 shot attempts, but was efficient, 50% from the field after almost taking Giannis's head off. But yeah, the Spurs rim defense and transition defense is so bad. I think this could be a pretty big spot for Amen. So I do like him. I do like Sengun. I agree with you 100%. Cheaper than Sabonis. Arguably better matchup, I would say. Been scoring the ball really well, playing those mid 30 minutes, which is good to see when versus him being in like the low 30s. He's been like right around 34, 35. So should be able to build off of those strong performances in, I would say, much tougher matchups. Milwaukee kind of talked about their rim defense not being great as of late, but still they have Brook Lopez and Giannis. And then Utah, Minnesota, I would say, are better rim protecting teams than this iteration of the Spurs. Jalen Green, kind of expensive, but been playing really well. Another 25-point game for him, 40 DK points. Don't think that's going to be enough tonight, so I probably won't get to too much. And then Jabari should play a ton. I don't know. He's not playing too great right now, but he's going to be playing a lot of minutes. And same thing for Brooks, coming off of a strong game. Never really see the need to get to Dylan Brooks on this big of a slate because those games are kind of few and far between. But I don't think that Jabari is the worst option.
Would you be fine if you went no Spurs and you played Sengun and Amin Thompson? Or is that too much of your salary, do you think?
No, I don't think so. Like, what, it'd be $17K right there. I think they could pay that off.
I like it. I doubt I'd get to 3 of these guys too much, but you can play 2 of their best players and be fine with it, so I like it. I got really nothing more to add. That's 9 games. Again, as many of you probably know, if you tuned in from the beginning, we are screen sharing SaberSim. Just partnered with them 2 days ago, the best public optimizer out there. I don't even think it's close. And we do offer the best deals with SaberSim right here. As you can see, the core package, many of you grandfathered in if you had Shiptimizer. Now you can build 150 teams with SaberSim, including late swap, which is very big for NBA DFS. For just $30 more, highly recommend, the best value. 350 more teams. You also get SaberSim's ownership and projections, not only for the sports we offer, for like tennis, college basketball, the sports we don't. Contest Flashback allows you to go back, look at what pros are doing. If you want to check out what that is, type in YouTube or go to YouTube, SaberSim Contest Flashback. If you have any questions on what to do to Saber, we do have a Discord, but first try and find the answer in yourself. So many videos they do, office hours, etc. And then if you do want the contest sims, $297 for the first 30 days. Again, all these prices will be going up after launch. So fun screen sharing SaberSim. Man, it's the nuts. We've been using it obviously for multiple years. Been using it since with the old site. What I love about Saber is they just continue to improve. I know you mentioned it yesterday, but they're updating things constantly. Things that you don't even know need to be updated, they're still putting the work in behind the scenes. Bunch of really smart guys, coders. I don't know how to do any of this. I pay for them, or at least I did. Shout out to SaberSim now and the partnership. Pay for them. They do the hard work. Makes my life a lot easier. But again, I'm not just going and clicking a couple buttons. Little things like that. Just say you know you don't want a team with 48,000. Go to 49.4 or whatever. Any changes you do here, Xing out, etc., narrows your pool to make the teams show up how you want them to show up. So that's the power, adding your own little sauce into it. Very important. I haven't pulled up this graphic yet, but I do want to. I know many of you probably out there are signed up for multiple sites. And again, you guys are the customers. You can do whatever you want. But I'd really, really take a look. It's almost tax season. I was just doing some tax stuff today. Things get expensive, no doubt about that. You can save a lot of money. We think we have everything you need to be successful in DFS. As you can see right now, all the sports, we don't charge per sport like many people do. Now we have the optimizer with SaberSim, projections, ownership, the best Discord community out there. Again, you can see comp A, B, C, D, whatever names you want to put to it. You can be saving a lot of money more than likely. If you just have 2 different sites, you transition all to one, you will definitely be noticing saving money for your for the content, playing more in your contests. Hey, that's how you win some cheese. One other guy that won some cheese yesterday I want to shout out, Pensac. Shout out to you, Pensac. 15 stacks in the betting streets. Good stuff over there. Rio, any final thoughts? Any additional thoughts? Anything you want to say before we get on out of here?
No, I know Nades has been dabbling in the NBA streets and had a pretty solid night last night. Only had 95% bull, but still was able to get there. I don't really have much else to say. I think that you did a great job breaking it down. I have a lot of good things to say about Saber. I don't really need to retouch on everything you said. It's the best out there for sure.
And I will say, like Nate said, I did click a couple buttons and took top 5. You can. That's the great thing about Saber. This is one of the few optimizers, maybe the only, that if you do just randomly click some buttons, you will get competitive lineups. But, I mean, if that's what you want to do, if you only got a little time, that's what you want to do, sure. I like to add in my own process, little secret sauce here and there. Everyone, when you do work with it more, get to understand it more, you will be able to do things like that yourself. But yeah, any little touches you do narrows your path and makes your lineups even better. And yeah, Nades is a big guy on his phone. He loves, he's always out and about doing stuff. He's doing it on the phone. Very easy to do on the mobile, on the iPad. So appreciate everyone hanging out. Again, hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. ShipItNation.com. If you want to join us, get one of the SaberSim packages. If you do sign up, though, definitely get in the Discord. Best community out there. No better time to get in. Golf locks early tomorrow. Big boy NBA prizes. MLB will be here before you know it. Saber, very fun for that in the stack exposure stuff. MMA this weekend, like always. NHL, stacking sport as well. NASCAR going on. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way out. Thank you very much for your time, for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Good luck tonight for Rio. I'm Titletown. Be safe. Peace.